Well, when we would go to track meets, we went in a truck, a box trucks, and to carry everybody in there. And since I was kind of the primary runner, he would have me to ride up front with him to kind of map out, how I was going to run that race. He would tell me who was the fastest kid from that school, and he always told me I was a natural, He told me I had the stride that I had, and he would tell me, he said, Hawkins, running is just like life, and I would tell him, I said, well, his name was Pete Williams. I would say, Pete, I'm the only black kid running distance. I said, black guys don't run distance, they're sprinters. He said, well, Hawkins, can you outrun Kelsall or Hollins or Russell? You can't outrun any of them kids. He said, who can you outrun as a sprinter? And he said, you're a distance runner. So he would tell me it was like life. And I would say, well, I'm getting tired. He said, well, Hawkins, that other kid get tired too. He said, that's the way life is. You can't be a quitter. He said, there's going to be times when you get married when you get out of school, you have a family, and I'd always tell him I wasn't. He said, oh, you will, and you ain't going to want to go to work. It's going to be cold. And said, if you start off quitting early in life, said, he told me you'd always be a quitter. So he said, never be a quitter, And I don't know, he told me that over and over, and it kind of stuck with me, And he was a great influence. Also, my dad, he was home with my mom. I had a mom and a dad, and my dad, he would come by the track field up there on Lewis. He walked quite a bit, and I would see him standing at the fence, watching us practice. And I didn't want those kids to beat me in front of my dad one day, because he would tell me, boy, I thought you could run. You let that little old kid beat you or something like that, see, and I didn't want to get embarrassed in front of my dad, so that was a big influence also. Well, probably when I broke Bob and Chuck Kurtz's record. They had the half-mile record and they had the mile record. They were two brothers, two white guys, Bob and Chuck Kurtz, that went to Central, and I think I was a sophomore, just out of my freshman year, and I broke their record as a sophomore, and also probably getting my my cross-country sweater in school. I got that as a sophomore, and most guys didn't get it till they were juniors and seniors, because you had to accumulate so many points. And I had accumulated those points in my sophomore year, other than my senior year. So those were some of my, breaking that record, I think was probably one of my highlights, Well, it depends, doing regular races, when you're just running, we'd run just 2 or 3 schools, like the Kokomo Relays, Logansport Relays. You got 5 or 6 schools, and several of those guys, Marion, those were black. Kokomo, a lot of those guys were black. And things of that nature. So they not only had to watch me, it was several other black runners out of Marion. Weatherly, he was out of Marion. He was faster than me. He was black. He was black. So, they would try to maybe box you in on the track, in the half mile or something like that, when there's 2 laps on them for the track. And on the mile, it's 4. But if he would box me in, one of the other guys, black guys from the other school, you had other distance runners from other schools just as talented, if not more so. So they couldn't just focus on me to maybe, to stop me, so that's why it was kind of like a wide open deal. Oh, definitely. I could remember Central had never won a sectional cross-country meet, and it was going to take place at out at Funky Park, you know, and in the back then, north side, it was predominant, it was all white, basically. Raleigh Chambers was the head track coach in north side, and I could remember Pete Williams telling us, and basically all our cross-country team was black, one or two white kids, and I could remember him telling us that Raleigh Chambers in north side said he wouldn't have a bunch of niggers on his track team because there was a bunch of quitters. He said if they got tired, they didn't have any heart, they would quit, you know. And he told us that. I don't, knowing Raleigh Chambers, he probably said that. And I'm wondering if that was maybe a tactic that Pete Williams told us to get us fired up. But it happened that Northside didn't win that sectional meet. You know, we beat Northside. That was the first time that Central had ever won a cross-country sectional meet. But matter of fact, I have a picture running against Ewing. He was a standout in Northside, out at Funky, coming up around the that duck pen out there, and I beat him. Matter of fact, I won that race. Well, it did, because every day, you know, we practiced, and I was around Pete Williams, and like I said, he was a great influence on me in the middle '50s. He would always talk to me, and he would tell me about different things, you know, to look out for. He says drinking and smoking and things of that nature. He said it was no good. It messed up your lungs, and you know, it was a nasty habit, and everything he said was negative. It took your money, and if you gamble, you know, it just took away from your livelihood and things of that nature, and that kind of stuck with me. Sure, to answer your question, basically came from, I'm thinking, as a kid, those long, hot days in Arkansas in that field. You couldn't quit. And you couldn't say, I'm tired, or anything like that. I want some water, I want a bologna sandwich, or whatever, and that's what you basically ate. So that was kind of embedded in me.